Today, so practice this morning. We have Tyler Bass. We have seen Tyler Bass, Sal.
Yeah.
Whether you had any particular role in his being sort of returned to society, I don't know. It was an interesting conversation there a couple of days ago, but he's back. Is there anything else to say?
He said, I know you guys have not seen me kick, but we've been kicking. So he's aware that, we talk about that, I guess, or people have reported that, talked about it. He first kicked to the kickoff return team. So they're working special teams. And instead of using the jugs machine, he kicked. So it was a kickoff return team. So it wasn't even the kickoff team. They were working more of the return. So he did that. And then they flipped it around and did field goals. And they started at like the 33, then it went to the 37, 39. So if you track it, kind of kept going up, make. Then he missed one from 43, I believe it was. And then he made one from 46 and 47. They missed one from 51. I think I have that right. His longest make was 46. Now, some in the media, you may have seen some reports that he went 7 for 7. Where we get to stand, the vantage point is tough to see if it goes through the uprights sometimes. And there's no official actually saying good or no good. So some of the media thought he made them all. I thought he missed 2. I had confirmation from a couple other media members that they believed he missed 2. So we're going with he was 5 of 7. He pushed a couple to the right. But more importantly to me, his leg looked really, really strong. Like he was, even on the misses, the makes doesn't matter. They were high up. And they were booming through the uprights.
Any explanation for where he's been? Like why it's been so secretive or no?
I guess it hasn't been secretive to the team. They've just been keeping him, doing it during their walkthroughs because I think they want to maximize practice time and they'll use that time for that. Just remember, it's not a live period. You don't have a true pass rush, or a field goal rush. I think that the explanation would be found in what Jeff Rodgers said, Mike, which is they've kind of just wanted to wait to get him in like environments he'll be kicking in. And, they'll wait. So I think they've just waited to ramp it up here. You'll see him more on Saturday in an actual stadium environment. So I think that's probably it. But, maybe there's something to just kind of wanting him to, ramping him up a little bit more. But he looked fine to me today, and he is the only kicker on the roster, and he has been for a while.
The first clip I saw of him kicking, there's this little hop step after. And I was,
after the kick, right?
Yeah, after the kick. Like he kicks it, and there's like a little – and I'm just going to admit I had never noticed that before. It's been a while since we've seen him kick. I mean, it's been a year, right? Basically, since we've seen him kick. So I guess I didn't have his kicking motion, the entirety of it, including the follow through and the steps afterward.
Distinct kicking motion.
Committed to memory. So I saw like, oh, that looked a little. Is he okay? That looks weird, right? That's what I thought. So I did the thing that you almost never should do. I went to the comments, and there was a lot of like, that didn't look right. What's the hop step? What's going on there? And thankfully, an account I follow, I don't remember who now, had a highlight of the 61-yarder against Miami, the exact same vantage point as the video of him kicking today at training camp. And the exact same thing happens after he kicks the ball. There's like a little half step and a hop as he finishes the kick. I'm like, oh, he's probably always done that. I just didn't know. And like some people were freaking out. I guess including me. I was freaked out enough to want to go in the comments and see. And then a little later, I saw this quote tweet with, this is what he does.
What is it for balance?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I saw it though, Bulldog. I saw it, and it was kind of weird. I'm like, ooh, did something happen? The reason I didn't get too worried about it was he kept kicking.
He kept kicking, right?
And then he came to talk to us after, and he was fine.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, well, obviously nothing's wrong there, but it did seem weird. I just thought maybe he kind of just slipped on the follow through. But you're right. Matt Bove and I just recorded an episode of It's Always Game Day in Buffalo, and he brought up the same thing you did, which is someone found the Miami kick, and he did it the same thing. So, I didn't really remember him doing that. The operation with a new holder, Tommy Doman, now he has an old holder, if you will. Mitch Wishnowsky, a holdover holder. But I'm going to anticipate Tommy Doman is the team's punter after drafting him. So that's got to be buttoned up. And, he talked about, working with Tommy and obviously Reed. So seems like things are trending well here for Tyler Bass.
By the way, if you draft a punter in any round, doesn't he have to make the team? Is that kind of what you're thinking too? That if you cut the guy after drafting a punter, it sort of looks bad. You almost have to go forward with him just to see. Yes or no?
I think that's the case. Now, obviously, we had the Matariza situation a few years ago.
Well, yeah,
and they
that's
did
different.
draft him.
That's
right.
different.
But I think that normally the guy is going to make the team. You invested something in him. I'm sure there's been instances where that's not the case, a kicker or a punter. I think kickers have been drafted and didn't make the team. But when you have that investment, yeah, I think that's the case.
Okay.
Greg Torlone is who I want to give credit to for the Miami video, and I think he works for the team. I think is his Twitter avatar
he does?
is him standing with I think he's one of the flag wavers in the end zone.
Yeah, he runs out. He runs out with the flag.
So I don't know how
they score points.
I don't know how I came to be following him. Probably for stuff like this. I feel like he's been helpful before.
I know Greg.
I've seen the name, and I'm like, okay, and that's who had the.
He's also a DJ, by the way, like weddings and stuff that I've seen.
All right, so are we done?
Shout out to Greg. There you go.
Are we done with kickers for now? Then it's all over.
He's fine.
The drama is behind us.
If he starts
Whatever
missing a lot,
it,
then maybe we'll.
Until he starts missing. But look, I will say this. Bulldog said people were freaking out about that. I mean, a lot of people are still, I can't believe he missed 2 of them. I mean,
right.
That's what you get there, too. I'm not as concerned about that. I think the leg looked healthy and strong. That's what I'm concerned about.
Right.
All right. Sal Capaccio with us. Bills on the field today. Then there's tomorrow, and then they're in Orchard Park Saturday. And it's bye-bye Fisher after tomorrow, right, Sal?
Yep, that's it. One day left at St. John Fisher, back tomorrow to the return of the red and blue at 7 p.m. And then that's it. Then they stay in Buffalo. And then the following week, and then the week leads up to the preseason game. Then the following week, they're in Cleveland for joint practice.
All right. Next week, Orchard Park. Following week,
right.
Cleveland. Got it.
Yes.
And the big news, the most interesting thing that happened there today, maybe was C.J. Gardner-Johnson talking. He was back
practicing
and practicing. Right, that's also news after the scare from last weekend with the lower calf strain. But man, he went in on the Texans to a degree, Sal.
Yeah. So let me set up the situation and first of all talk about the fact that him practicing today was very, very notable and a big deal. I mean, he had just gone through that injury scare on Saturday, guys. I mean, that was. Is he, is it Achilles, done for the year? Oh, my God, right? People wondering. And then we learned that it was avoided worst case, reported as a calf strain. And then he's out with trainers for a couple of days. He was back today. He was 11 on 11. He was full go. He was everything. I got some video from him, on social. People can watch during individual. So that was really great news. So, of course, we'd like to talk to him in the media after his first day back. He comes over to talk, and he did check with PR. Tim Graham made a great point on his show with Brad. Said a lot of times if guys are, still nursing injuries, PR kind of keeps them back. You don't want to say anything you shouldn't say, so PR keeps them back. And I saw CJ look over to Bill's PR and go, hey, they want to talk, and they're like, yep, go ahead. So he comes over and he talks. So he starts talking about playing. Well, I will tell you guys that I had talked to people in other markets where he had played before. And last year he played in Houston, and he was released really early in the season. And I've talked to people in Houston who basically said, yeah, like he kind of did his own thing, like just was kind of freelancing a little bit, didn't work out. They were not happy with it. It did not end well for him there, from their side, from the Texan side, from what I understand. So just dawned on me, oh boy, he's going back to Houston here for week 1. What's that going to be like? So I said, are you looking forward to going back in Houston where maybe it didn't end the way you wanted it to? And then he just started really kind of going in on, as you say, Houston. In fact, he first said nothing, I'm not going to talk about the coaching staff or the front office, but the players are really good there. And he stopped. Another question happens, and in mid-question, he looked at me and said, man, now you got me talking about the Texans, and I'm pissed off. And I'm like, okay, is that a good thing? He said, it's a great thing. I'm like, do you want to talk about it? He said, well, I don't know. What's the real story? We can talk about that. I said, well, let's talk about it then. I mean, it was really interesting. Yeah. And he basically said, it's lies, it's BS. What happened? I said, what happened? He said they told him that he didn't gel with the team. And he said, but they were 0-3. After that Jags game, they released him. They're 0-3. So how's it supposed to be on one guy? At the end of the day, at the end of the conversation, it came down to he felt very disrespected about how they communicated with him or didn't communicate with him, a 5-second phone call, and did not appreciate it. And he's not happy about it. And he's, willing to talk about it.
Yeah, Houston did start 0-3 last year. He was released. They ended up, 12-5? So, pretty good turnaround. Gardner-Johnson is on, if you count Philadelphia twice, because he's had 2 different stints there, he's on his 7th team in 5 years.
8 if you count practice squad with the Ravens last year.
Okay. So that too. What is it about him that was it on display today in this conversation? Like, what is it about Gardner-Johnson? Maybe it's just on the field. I don't know, but he's had good stats, interceptions. He's had good seasons by the numbers. What is it about him that people don't like, if I can put it that way?
Well, I would say, first of all, I would direct people to a much more in-depth conversation he had with Tim Graham back in minicamp, I believe it was. And Tim wrote about this, and he went really in-depth. And he said a lot more about Houston and the Texans. And if you want to get even more into detail about what went down there, what he felt about it, Tim Graham did an excellent piece. And he asked this same question Tim did. Like, why have you been, with all these teams? So here's my read of everything from me watching him. And I think that today was a good window into this, which is C.J. Gardner-Johnson has a very certain type of edge about him that I think you guys can see and understand. He is a really excellent football player, but that certain edge and type of player can really wear on you as an organization, as a locker room, especially if maybe things aren't going great. But he's been on, you go back in his career, Mike, you talk about the teams he's been on. Every team he's been on, everywhere. Like if he was just there for a second, they all had a winning record. 9-8 is the worst record he's ever had on a team. He went to 2 Super Bowls, he's won 1. So he's helped teams win. But, man, the Eagles had him, and they're like, we got to a Super Bowl, but we don't want this guy on our team anymore. Guess what? They realized they couldn't live without him. They brought him back, and then they won a Super Bowl. And they said, we don't want him again. So, to me, it feels a little bit like a Stefon Diggs type of situation where why does Stefon Diggs go from team to team? He has this personality that wears on you, and after a while, you're like, man, I've kind of had enough of it. But, man, you love when he's on your team. He gives you an edge. He's a really good football player, and it's just a super interesting dynamic.
Diggs now on his 4th team in 4 years.
Yeah.
Bills, Houston, New England, and Washington.
I wonder if it's just like he I think there might be a window into him from what occurred with you guys today. Like, he might just be a guy who's got a real pretty sturdy idea of how everything should be. And if anything isn't the way that he thinks it should be, he's probably not going to be shy about letting you know.
Uh-oh.
Right? Like, if that's teammates, if that's coaches, is the cafeteria, like, who knows what, right? But just like he just can't keep it in. Like, why is this like this? I am ashamed. I can be this way about certain things, and I've gotten better as I've gotten older, but I wish I would have been better at it 20 years ago when my kids were little, because why is this here? Why is it? And I don't know, but that seems to me like in his head he can't really rectify something that's so obviously wrong being wrong. I have a feeling, and like that, I think can wear people out.
and I think to that point, one thing I've heard about him and his style and his play at various places he's been is he can freelance a little too much, and maybe play out of structure. But I'll tell you this, guys, the further away from the ball that guy is, the better he is sometimes because he can freelance and he can go get the ball. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you just put him in center field and say go get interceptions, that's what he does best. And I think he knows that. That's what he does best. So being on a team that will allow him to do that, I think could be great. But he also signs 1-year deals, right? Because teams are like, okay, we're going to bring this guy in, and then we're going to see how it goes. And to that point, he signed a 1-year deal. He has this injury from Saturday. Sometimes guys would just like, I'm not going back out there for a couple weeks, right? I mean, he was out there today.
Right.
He loves football. He exudes football. That's the one thing about CJ I will tell you that no doubt I have learned here, getting to cover him for the last few months. You can say all you want about his boisterousness, his attitude, the way he talks. That guy loves football. He wants to play football, and he wants to make plays.
Gardner-Johnson out of Florida came in with the Saints and has bounced around. I was sort of cringing during Bulldog's, analysis because I am that way. And I think there is just if I may, there is another side to that coin, because you do damage sometimes to relationships and you make your life more complicated by speaking up. But then if you to soften that and to get along better as you get older, you stop doing that. But it eats me up inside because I know I'm right. I mean, sometimes at least. And to not say it just because you want an easier ride is very frustrating and depressing too. There's no winning. It's a curse.
Yeah, I'm just taking a shot at it. I mean, I have no idea if I'm correct about him, but about him.
But you know it's true about yourself.
Yes.
And it's definitely true of me.
Yeah. Can I make one more point about this?
Sure.
The other day, Deion Dawkins said, when everything happened with CJ, we asked him about Deion. And Deion said, he's the teammate I never knew I needed. And what do you mean by that? He's like, he shows you that you can be expressive and be yourself, and Deion wants to be that way. We know Deion can be that way. So I just find it interesting, the dynamic that he brings to this football team.
My mind is racing. I was out in Chicago with a friend who used to be in restaurants, and I love how sort of matter of fact, he was never rude or unfriendly. He was just sort of direct with the servers, like, I want this, like they say in that Progressive ad. You don't have to be their friend. Just, you don't have to say your name or anything like that. But, you go to a restaurant, like, could I have a glass of water, please? And the waiter will say, no problem. You'd be like, well, why would it have been a problem? I mean, you work here. Could you please bring me? It's a very, very strange, dark area.
You have a
for
problem
me.
with no problem.
I have a problem with no problem.
Yeah.
I have a problem with a lot of things. Sal, yesterday, seeing pictures of, I guess, the old stadium, we'll call it that now, in rubble. We talked about some of our favorite memories there and just kind of like kicking the feet up, lit a cigar, talking about, the old days. Do you have, if you would, I'm sure you do, you have probably many, but maybe once as a child or a teenager or something, and then maybe once as a professional, a couple of memories that you think you might never forget of the place?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a fan, it's 51-3 more than anything. Just being in that stadium for that moment. In senior in high school, being with so many people celebrating, going to the Super Bowl, 41-3 at halftime. Yeah, that's been incredible. For me, I mean, I got a chance to play there, guys. I had an interception at the stadium in high school, and walking out of the tunnel as a player, I didn't know that 25 years later or 30 years later, whatever it is, that I'd be walking out of the tunnel as a media member and professional and covering the Buffalo Bills. But when you do that for the first time, you're like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I will tell you, back then, I do. My memories of the turf. You guys know that turf was like concrete back then, right? Right. And getting just bruised and scraped up and bloody just playing on it. The crown was so large and things like that. And then, I think later on, some of my memories just being on the field, and what I will always take away, and this will not change in the new stadium, really, is being so close to the action. As a sideline reporter the last 12 years, you go to all these different stadiums, and that stadium, everybody's just so close to you. And we know the new stadiums like that. We know the way it's pitched, and everybody even up top is going to be a little bit higher. But, that fight that happened with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Bills, being right in the mix of that, because there's nowhere to go. You have no escape when you're there. And being so close on that field to the fans and the game is different than most stadiums.
Yeah, if you wanted to get further away from that fight, you would have had to go on the field. The actual field of play, right?
That's right.
Like within the white lines, right? Because it was just so compacted. Yeah. Is it jarring to you that it came down so fast?
Yeah.
I watched that entire. You mentioned when we visited on Tuesday that you and Matt were going to talk to Pete Coelho. I watched that Tuesday night as soon as you posted it. Or maybe even I was watching it live. I don't know. I didn't finish it live. I know I had to pause it, but
we recorded it, so it wasn't live. It's all
okay. There was so much good information in there, but him talking about how they were, I think, obligated. He said contractually to have the stadium down by March of 27, and I know it's not shovel ready. I mean, they still got to get all the debris out of there and clean the site and make it shovel ready, but I didn't expect it to be. I wondered. I said on the air yesterday, I wonder if fans were expecting to still be looking at it from across the street when they went like they were looking at the new place last year.
Whoops.
But gone.
I think what's happening here, my read of it, listening to Pete talk, and thank you for that. Pete, great conversation on a lot of things, and people can check that out on the Always Game Day
I would
podcast,
highly encourage them to do it. I got a lot of information out of that hour-long conversation.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it was an hour long with the Bills and Sabres president. My guess is they have some real ideas of what they want to do with that space, and they want to getting on. You know what I mean? It was before we're going to figure out what we want to do, so let's get it down by March of 27. By then we'll have an idea. I think they have ideas. Listening to Pete talk, I think they want to get on with it so they can start doing something over there.
Bulldog said it all the other day. Construction is always behind schedule. Demolition is always ahead.
It's true.
Yeah, I definitely think that's right, Sal. I mean, if they want to get in line for an NFL draft, I think, and I know Pete talked about downtown and like using Canal Side and the arena as part of that, and maybe even Niagara Falls, and like having this incredibly varied footprint for an event like the NFL draft. You're going to need support, just infrastructure, just places for people to go and gather that are not just the stadium. Like any of these places that are holding the draft have got like big spaces for that.
Yeah, and Canal Side, is something that's been talked about for sure. Across the street from the stadium, whatever is there, they're going to have to think about. And then you have parking issues too, which you have to start, thinking about with the new stadium. So we're going to see for the first time on Saturday with a pretty packed house, I think, people showing up and how all this is going to start to work with the ingress and the egress and the parking. And, we're going to have a lot more conversations about that. And I'm sure that they're going to start adjusting things after that as they've done in the past with these types of events.
Thank you, Sal. One more tomorrow. We'll talk then.
You got it, guys. Thanks.
That's Sal Capaccio on